Last winter, I spoke with a 68-year-old man who had spent years trying to get his blood pressure under control. He was careful, he walked every morning, he avoided fast food. He took every pill exactly the way he was told. And still, his numbers stayed stubbornly high. What surprised him most was not what helped him later. It was how simple those changes were. Not expensive supplements, not complicated routines, not another prescription. Most of the answers were already sitting in his kitchen. And today, I want to share 5 habits that many people over 60 overlook completely. Small daily choices that may help your body support healthier circulation naturally. Because after a certain age, blood pressure is not only about salt or stress anymore. Something else begins to change quietly inside the body. Think about a garden hose left outside for many years. When it's new, it bends easily. Water flows through it smoothly. But over time, the material becomes stiffer, less flexible, less forgiving under pressure. Our blood vessels change in a very similar way with age. The walls gradually lose elasticity, the body becomes more sensitive to inflammation, and the heart has to work harder to move blood through vessels that no longer relax the way they once did. The difficult part is that this process is usually silent. Most people feel completely normal while these changes slowly build over many years. That's why everyday habits matter so much. What you eat several times a day is either helping your blood vessels stay calm and flexible, or quietly making the situation harder for your body. And no, this is not about replacing medication or ignoring medical care. I would never suggest that. But there are natural habits that may work alongside proper medical guidance and support the body in surprisingly powerful ways. Some people notice changes quickly, others notice them gradually, but either way, the body responds to consistency. So let's start with the first habit. Tonight during dinner, before you touch the bread, before the rice, before the potatoes, eat the vegetables first, not after the meal, not on the side, first. I know that sounds almost too simple, but there's a very important reason this can matter. Vegetables rich in fiber create a slower digestive response inside the stomach. That means sugars from the rest of the meal enter the bloodstream more gradually, instead of all at once. Why does that matter? Because sharp blood sugar spikes can trigger stronger insulin responses. And when insulin rises aggressively, blood vessels may temporarily tighten. Many people never realize this is happening after meals. They simply feel tired, sluggish, or heavy afterward, and assume it's normal aging. But meal order can make a difference. A woman named Margaret, age 69, tried changing only this one habit. She kept eating the same foods, same portions, same routine. The only thing she changed was the order. Vegetables first, protein second, carbohydrates last. 2 weeks later, she told me she felt lighter after meals and more stable throughout the evening. Even her home blood pressure readings began looking more consistent. One small adjustment, one surprisingly meaningful effect. And honestly, that's often how sustainable health changes happen. Not through extreme diets, not through fear, but through small, repeatable habits that fit naturally into everyday life. Now let's move to something many people already have sitting in the pantry: apple cider vinegar. Just 1 or 2 tablespoons mixed into a large glass of water with meals. That's all. Now whenever people hear this, there are usually 2 reactions. Some immediately believe it's a miracle. Others dismiss it completely. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Apple cider vinegar is not magic, but there is real research behind why some people find it helpful. The key compound inside it is called acetic acid, and acetic acid appears to support healthier blood sugar responses after meals. In simple terms, it may help the body process carbohydrates more steadily instead of causing dramatic spikes. That matters because stable blood sugar patterns may also help support calmer blood vessel function. There's another reason people pay attention to it. Some research suggests acetic acid may help support nitric oxide production in blood vessels. Nitric oxide is important because it helps blood vessels relax and widen naturally. When blood vessels stay relaxed, circulation tends to work more efficiently. But there's an important rule here: never drink apple cider vinegar straight. Always dilute it well in water. Undiluted vinegar can irritate the throat and damage tooth enamel over time. Some people even prefer using a straw. And if you deal with reflux or stomach sensitivity, it's always wise to speak with your healthcare provider before adding it regularly. The goal here is not excess. The goal is gentle consistency, 1 glass with meals, nothing extreme. And honestly, many people appreciate habits like this because they feel manageable. No complicated schedule, no expensive products, no overwhelm, just small daily support. Now here's something most people rarely think about. What happens to blood pressure during sleep? Many people check their numbers during the day, morning readings, afternoon readings. But nighttime is important too, because during healthy sleep, blood pressure is supposed to lower naturally for several hours. It gives the heart and blood vessels time to rest. But for some older adults, that nighttime drop becomes much smaller. The body stays under quiet pressure through the night. And the strange thing is, many people have no idea it's happening. They simply wake up tired, foggy, heavy, and assume it's normal aging again. One evening snack that has gained attention for supporting nighttime circulation is walnuts. About a small handful before bed. Walnuts contain plant omega-3 fats, magnesium, and natural compounds that support blood vessel relaxation. They also fit beautifully into an evening routine because they're simple. No preparation, no complicated recipe. A man named Daniel, age 72, began replacing his late-night crackers and processed snacks with walnuts and herbal tea. After several weeks, he told me something interesting. He said his mornings felt calmer, less tension, less heaviness, better sleep overall. Now, of course, no single food changes everything overnight. But when several supportive habits work together, the body often responds in noticeable ways. The next habit is one of the most calming evening routines I recommend people explore. A warm cup of hibiscus tea. Deep red in color, slightly tart, almost similar to cranberry tea. In many parts of the world, people have enjoyed hibiscus for generations, and in recent years, researchers have become increasingly interested in how it may support cardiovascular health. Hibiscus contains natural plant compounds called anthocyanins and polyphenols. These compounds appear to help support blood vessel flexibility and healthy circulation. Some studies have even observed modest improvements in blood pressure levels among adults who drank hibiscus tea regularly as part of a healthy lifestyle. What I personally like about it is how simple and relaxing it feels. No complicated timing, no strict routine, just a calming tea people can enjoy during the day. Morning, afternoon, evening. And when a healthy habit feels comforting instead of stressful, people are much more likely to stay consistent with it. That matters more than most people realize. Because the body responds best to things done repeatedly over time, not extreme efforts that last 3 days. A woman named Eleanor, age 67, started drinking hibiscus tea in place of her second afternoon coffee. That was her only goal, nothing dramatic. A few weeks later, she told me she felt calmer in the evenings and less tense overall. Now, was that entirely because of the tea? Maybe not. Sometimes healthy rituals work together in ways we can't fully separate. Better hydration, less caffeine, more relaxation, better sleep. All of those things matter too. And this brings me to something I wish more people understood. Health is rarely about one magical food. It's about creating an environment inside the body that supports healing instead of constant stress. That's where the next habit becomes very important. Cooking oils. I know this topic confuses many people because advice has changed so much over the years. But here's the simplest way to think about it. Some oils are more stable and supportive for the body than others. Many highly processed seed oils, used in packaged foods and fast foods, go through intense industrial processing and are heavily consumed in modern diets. The problem is not necessarily one single meal. It's the constant overload over many years, especially when most meals contain ultra-processed foods cooked in the same oils repeatedly. Many researchers now believe this pattern may contribute to chronic inflammation in the body. And inflammation matters because blood vessels tend to function better in a calmer internal environment. That's why many people choose simpler fats for everyday cooking. Extra virgin olive oil is one example that has been studied extensively. It contains healthy monounsaturated fats and natural compounds associated with heart-friendly dietary patterns like the Mediterranean diet. For higher heat cooking, some people also prefer more traditional options in moderate amounts, instead of heavily refined alternatives. The important thing is not perfection, it's awareness. A retired mechanic named Robert, age 70, told me he never thought about cooking oils once in his entire life. Then one day, his daughter cleaned out his pantry and pointed out how many processed foods and bottled dressings he was using every week. He laughed at first, but slowly, he started making small changes. Olive oil for salads, simpler ingredients, less packaged food. 3 months later, he told me something surprising. He said food tasted more real again. That may sound small, but it matters, because healthier routines only last when people actually enjoy them. And this is where many people get overwhelmed unnecessarily. They think improving health means turning life upside down overnight. It doesn't. The body responds remarkably well to small, consistent improvements. One better choice repeated daily becomes a habit. A habit repeated for months becomes a lifestyle. And lifestyles shape long-term outcomes far more than short bursts of motivation ever will. Now let me pause for a moment and say something important. None of these habits are meant to create fear. Fear is not healthy for the body either. This is not about obsessing over every bite of food or becoming anxious about every meal. That kind of stress can become its own burden. The goal is simply awareness, gentle adjustments, small supportive routines, better tools for the body, that's all. And honestly, many older adults already know this deep down. The body often responds best to rhythm, regular meals, better sleep, calmer evenings, less processed food, more natural ingredients, simple things. But simple does not mean unimportant. In fact, some of the most powerful long-term changes are the least dramatic in the beginning. A 68-year-old woman named Patricia once told me something I never forgot. She said, "I stopped looking for quick fixes when I realized my body was asking for consistency instead." That sentence stayed with me, because it's true. Most people are not one miracle away from feeling better. They're often a collection of small, daily habits away from gradually improving how they feel. And when you think about it that way, it becomes much less overwhelming. You don't need to change your entire life tonight. You just need one good step. Maybe that step is eating vegetables first. Maybe it's replacing sugary evening snacks with walnuts. Maybe it's drinking more water and less soda. Maybe it's switching cooking oils. Maybe it's enjoying a calming cup of hibiscus tea in the evening instead of another coffee. Start where it feels manageable, because manageable habits are the ones people actually keep, and consistency is where real change begins. Now, before we finish, let's quickly bring these habits together one more time. First, try eating vegetables before the rest of your meal. Second, if it works for your body and your healthcare provider agrees, consider diluted apple cider vinegar with meals. Third, a small handful of walnuts in the evening may support a more calming nighttime routine. Fourth, hibiscus tea can be a simple and relaxing addition to the day. And fifth, pay attention to the oils and processed foods regularly entering your kitchen. That's it. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated. Just practical habits many people over 60 may find helpful as part of a balanced lifestyle. And remember this, your body is always responding to what you repeatedly give it. Not just once, not for 1 week, but over time. Small daily choices matter more than dramatic temporary efforts. If one idea from this video stood out to you, start there. One step is enough. Because one consistent step often leads naturally to the next one. And if you found this helpful, let me know which habit you would try first. I always enjoy hearing which ideas resonate most with people. Take care of yourself. Your body has carried you through decades of life, experiences, stress, victories, setbacks, and responsibilities. It deserves patience. It deserves support. And it's never too late to give it better daily habits. One final reminder before we end. Everything shared in this video is general educational information and should never replace personal medical guidance. If you take medication or manage an ongoing condition, it's always best to speak with your healthcare provider before making significant changes to your routine.